Hey everyone! In this video, I'm going to teach you how to upload current weather data into your FireFamilyPlus database so you can run some analyses during fire season. Let's begin by opening your database in FireFamilyPlus so you can determine what weather data you do have. For this demo, I'm going to be focusing on the raw stations in the Northeast FDRA SIG. You may want to jot down the station IDs for reference later. Now we need to determine where the weather data ends so we know exactly what we need to download from FAMW. To do this, you'll go to Weather, View OBS, All. Then, right-click OBS Date to sort descending. It's easy to see that the weather data ends after 12/31/2019, so we will need to download data beginning 1/1/2020. From here, minimize FireFamilyPlus and go to the FamWeb Data Warehouse website in order to download WIMS data from KCFast. If you don't have the URL handy, you can type Data Warehouse in the search bar on the FAMIT portal. Once you're on the warehouse main page, select Public Access Reports and hit OK on the pop-up message. You will be redirected to the FAM Cognos portal and should see that the Team Content folder is opened. Click on Weather Data Extract, Historical FW13. Here comes the fun part. You will need to repeat this process for each RAWs in the SIG you want to update. Enter the station ID number, then the start and end dates of weather data you're looking for. In this case, our start date will be 1/1/2020, and the end date is the date I'm recording this video, which is 10/12/2021. Make sure that the button next to hourly is selected, and now you can click Finish at the bottom of the page. When saving your file, be very careful that you label it correctly. Otherwise, you will save the file as a CSV rather than an FW13. Delete the FW13 default title and rename the file as a station ID with capital DW for Data Warehouse.fw13, then hit Save. Once finished, hit the play button, then click Reset Prompts and Run. All you'll need to change is the station ID number. After you've downloaded all of your data, pull FireFamilyPlus back up. Now you will need to import each of your FW13 files. To do this, go to Data, Import, then select the FW9/FW13 file button. Double-click on the first file to download, and then select Yes when the message pops up. It can take a few minutes to load the data, but you'll see a report out message when it's finished. Repeat this process for all of your stations. When done, close out of the screen and you'll notice that the database takes a moment to update. Now the data years will read 2008 through 2021. The next couple of steps are super important to making sure your database runs smoothly. First, you'll need to run a stats graph with the new data to recalculate all the fuel moistures in your SIG. Make sure you're using the correct fuel model. In this case, it should be Fuel Model X. Now change your data years to 2008 through 2021. Next, click the Climatology button, then clear all to make sure you don't run any other reports on accident. Now you can check the box next to Energy Release Component for Stats Graph and hit Run. It may take several minutes for the graphs to populate, but it will save you a lot of time later. Close out of your stats graph, and now let's free up some of that precious memory and prevent crashes by compacting your data. To do this, you're going to go to Data, then compact. This again may take several minutes. Now you're finally ready to run some reports. Go ahead and change the data years back to 2010 through 2019 because we want to compare the new data to your FDOP analysis period. Before you run any reports, make sure the fuel model is correct and that the analysis period is what you're interested in. All right, I'm going to go off script here and we're just going to go over a couple of scenarios so you're comfortable running graphs and using them during fire season. So before you do anything, make sure this Enable Auxiliary Year Overlays is checked. That'll make sure that you can put your new data on top of your FDOP analysis years. And let's say arbitrarily that our fire season that we're interested in is looking at spring of 2021. So I'm going to go to my annual filter and change from December to May 31st. Now we're ready to hit that climatology button. And because I already have the 100-hour fuel moisture, the burning index, and the energy release component selected, we're just going to go ahead and run those, as they are probably some trends you're going to want to look at anyway. All right, since energy release component popped up first, let's take a look at that graph. To move out of the percentile graph, just come over and hover over this middle line, and then you can drag the stats graph over. Conveniently, 2021 is already overlaid on my graph, and that's just because I was doing so while testing out before recording. So if you wanted to change the date or to put on a date, we're going to come up to Options and then go to Overlays, and then you can select the year you want to overlay on top of your graph, the color you want it to be, the width, and then the line style. So when you're ready, you can hit Apply to check it out, or in this case, we're just going to say OK. And in this case, when we're comparing 2021 to our FDOP analysis period, we can see that for the most part, it was just about average, many times below average, and just a couple days where we saw that we were above average. If you see any data gaps like this, that's just because all of the RAWS stations that particular day or couple of days were not reporting or were happened to be down. So not a big deal if it's just a couple days. If you have many days in a row where that's happening, obviously you're going to want to go in and make sure that your stations are up and running. So if you wanted to at this time, you might want to take a screenshot and then you can put it into either a PowerPoint or some emails. And then you can share with others with the trends that you're seeing at the time. Then you can either minimize or X out of the graph. So I'm just going to X out of it. Let's take a look at burning index in 2021. So similar to ERC, we see just a couple of days where we're peaking at pretty high levels of burning index. But for the most part, we're sitting at or below average. And finally, we're going to look at the 100-hour fuel moisture. So one thing to remember that when we're looking at 100-hour fuels, we want to see the minimums. And in this case, our graph is only showing the maximum and the average. To add the minimums, we're going to go Options, Graph Options, Line and Average, and click the minimum. There you go. So now we see the minimum levels, and once again, only a couple times throughout this part of our season were we getting below that percentile or setting a new minimum for this time of year. So there you have it. These are some of the graphs you're going to want to use, and these are some simple ways to run those analyses during fire season. I hope you enjoyed this video and got a lot out of it. Have a great day.